Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tim Hay with NASPA Value Point, and I'm the Lead Cooperative Development Coordinator. And I'd like to welcome you to today's presentation for the new contract portfolio that we're rolling out for parks and recreation equipment and related services. Today's presentation is being brought to you by Shirley Smith with the State of Oregon. She is our contract lead and has put together a wonderful presentation. We are re-recording this webinar from our original record date of December 21st. We ran into some audio problems, and so we're needing to re-record it so everyone can hear all the great products and services available for this. So before we start, I'd like to just remind everybody that today's presentation is being recorded, and we will turn it over to Shirley Smith. So Shirley, take it away.
Hi, I am the lead for Oregon for these parks and recreation and related services contract. I wanted to first introduce the sourcing team to everyone. We had a very good team. They were very interactive and did a wonderful job throughout this process. We had the state of Utah. We had Chad from the state of Utah. We had Terry from Nevada. We were pleased to have Lindsay from Tennessee, Leslie from Washington State, and then we had Lisa from South Dakota. We had Julia from Arkansas. We had Dave Reynolds from Oregon. He has now since moved on to bigger and better things, but I wanted to include him on this presentation. He was key role in developing a spreadsheet for the pricing. And then, of course, we have our wonderful Tim Hay, our NASPA Value Point Coordinator, that oversaw everything and was very helpful throughout this process. We had a diverse group, as you can tell, and I was quite pleased and happy to have them all as sourcing team members. The purpose of this project was to establish multiple master agreements for the purchasing of parks and rec equipment related services. That includes subdivisions, educational, political divisions, institutions, colleges, schools. It's a variety of folks could utilize these services. Playground equipment was part of this. We have benches and so on. There was a huge number of products that came out through this process. And all purchasing agencies and entities, as they go through their states, could utilize these services. One of the big key things I want to point out would be the benefits to these agreements. Some of these agreements, they provide comprehensive inclusion on a specific commodity. For example, economic ordering quantities. If you can get a huge buy, you get an even deeper discount. So we wanted to look at some of those things. We also wanted to look at whether or not we could have, not the typical playground equipment, but also include benches, picnic tables, canopies, bicycle racks, ground cover, things like that that people might not have thought about that actually do work in this group, and that was a huge benefit to us, we found. One of the others was awarding to multiple vendors, not only nationally but regionally. We wanted to award to a better group of folks than just the onesie-twosies that typically, had transpired in previous purchasing. For the state of Oregon, for example, we had some price agreements that we only had a few that, could really cover what we wanted. So we wanted to get out of this, one of the benefits was multiple award. We wanted to also do delivery for long-range stabilization of the market indices, which what that means is, get the locals involved, the actual, agents or companies that aren't the big guys. So we wanted to look at that, and one of the things to factor in for that was vendors could use the MSRP pricing. And at the time of award, we allowed for that was the price. It's set, we're good to go. If the MSRP fluctuates, it doesn't affect what we negotiated right off the bat. So that was a huge, huge benefit. The states had found that they really, really wanted to be on board for this, which was nice to hear. One of the things was favorable pricing. If you have the bigger groups, like the state agencies, all come together, you end up getting a better deal, more deeper discounts. In the past, Oregon did some price agreements of their own, and it wasn't as favorable as these contracts that we have in place currently that we awarded to. They've been a very good factor in all of this. We also allowed for value-added services, which is, for example, what other services these vendors could provide for free. What would be beneficial for our customers that they could get, what type of services they could provide that wouldn't cost them a whole bunch of money. And so that was one of the things that we wanted to make sure that we allowed for. And boy, that one, as you'll see later on in the slide shows, was a big benefit to the state agencies. So some of the scopes of our services. We have, I think we've got a lot of them, but the 5 key components that made up the scope was marketing of the master agreements by the manufacturers. We wanted to allow for the distributors and representatives and such, but we really wanted to market it to the master agreements to the manufacturers. They're the ones that typically can get you that deeper discount off the MSRP. So one of the things that we wanted to in our scope was make sure that everybody knew that the master agreements were going to be with the manufacturer, not the distributors. We still allowed for the distributors, but we wanted the contract agreement to be with the manufacturer. We also wanted a meeting with the delivery needs of the customers. We've got states like Hawaii and Alaska that sometimes their deliveries, fees and such could be so high. So we wanted to make sure when we put this out that we required those proposers to submit the delivery costs for those regions. So that was another part of the scope. We assisted customers in developing plans and drawings. We wanted to make sure that they were going to be there to help with our customers because they may not know. Some agencies, they don't know exactly what they want, what is best fitted for their area. They may have a site that they want to develop a big playground on, but they're not quite sure how to go about it. So one of the key scopes in our services area was planning and drawing. We also wanted to make sure that somebody was going to be there to inspect and install structures safely and up to code. So we talked with the proposers at the pre-proposal conference and explained to them one of the scopes that was the key one was also the inspecting of the installed structures to ensure that they would be safe, especially playground equipment, safe for the children. The 5th one was Child Safety Act requirement. They had to be sure that they were in compliance with the Child Safety Act, and we required them to submit a certification that they were indeed following that Child Safety Act requirement. The RFP process, we had the RFP out for solicitation for quite a while. We actually extended it because we've had a pre-proposal that came in with a lot of good vendors that had a lot of good information and questions that we were all very thankful that they had asked, because that made us stop and realize, okay, we really want to make sure this is a successful solicitation. We advertised it on May 9th. We did the pre-proposal on May 24th, and they had came back with lots of great questions. But we found that because of that, we needed to extend that. So we did our addendums, and we extended and we answered the addendums on June 30th. We postponed the close date and made it to July 25th. It was out there for about, I think it ended up being 45 days. And that was fine. That was great. The proposers were very glad, and we ended up getting 10 proposals out of it. So that was absolutely wonderful. We do have a protest period in Oregon for the RFP, which ended June 23rd. Our evaluation period, we had August 29th through September 2nd, and we had the 8 sourcing team members out to evaluate here in Oregon. We did our evaluation process. It was a very successful, thorough, educational. Every state that was part of the evaluation team and sourcing team spoke very highly of the process, which made me feel real good, and then they should feel good as well. We ended up doing our notice of intent to award to 8 of the 10 proposals that we received on October 6th. And then our protest period ended 5 days after that. And we were successful in not having any protests. The RFP, like I had said earlier, we received 10 of them. They were all responsive. So we had to have the sourcing team evaluate all 10 proposals. They actually did an absolutely wonderful job in the short time that they had to do the proposal reviews. When we were in Oregon, they came together and we ended up ranking the proposals. 2 proposals did not get awards. They were below the criteria. And then we negotiated with the remaining 8 proposers. Some of the evaluation criteria that we used, we had a maximum of 1,000 points per proposal review. We did a range of percentages, 90% to 100%. Overall is outstanding. We took and did a holistic look at the whole submittal of proposals by each proposer. We did 80% to 89 was overall above average, 70 to 79% was acceptable, 60 to 69% was marginally fair, and then 50 to 59% was inadequate, and anything that fell below that did not get awarded. This is our evaluation results. We awarded 8 masters after negotiations. And out of that 8, we had 6 national awardees and 2 regional awardees. That went with our economic outlook on that. So that was very nice for the West Coast. Contract term, I had all of them awarded on December 1st, 2016, and they go all the way till November 30th of 2021. That is the maximum term. We do annual reviews to see if we will be renewing each year, but I have high hopes that they will be very successful. They are all excited and willing and ready to start doing the purchase or participating addendums with states, and I have a really good, exciting view that this is going to be a very successful process and solicitation. The strengths, I wanted to point out some of the strengths for you all. The vendors have quite a bit of strengths, but some of the key roles that they do have, for example, rubbery cycle. They have several types of play surface materials. They are specific to play surfaces. They don't have the typical full categories, but they do focus strictly on the surface materials, and they're very good at what they do. They recycle tires. They have they do one type of ground surface, assisting with determining what surface is right for you. They will come out and they will do a layout for you on what type of surface is best for your playground structure and area, depending on the products that you have, which is always nice to have. They come in, they do that. That's one of their strengths. Northwest Playground, they have design services for free. They come out, they provide assistance in fundraising if that's acceptable in certain cities, counties, and states, depending on your your boards and your structure in regards to your rules. But that was something that I found was a very good strength on their part. They have on-site consulting. Their products contain 80 to 85% recycled material, and there are some that have 100% recycled, which is always good, especially like for us in Oregon. We're always looking at that type of thing. And they do qualify, some of their materials qualify for LEED points if you're doing a construction project. Play World, they have site evaluation and inspecting. They do the playground inspecting to make sure that it's installed correctly. They do custom design and layout if you have something that's unique and different. They also do safety, risk, and management consulting if you want to make sure any of that is in your thoughts of ensuring that the children are going to be safe if you've got a playground structure that you're going to be building. They also do budget fundraising as well. If you want them to come and help you do some fundraising, if you've got a project that isn't fully funded, they'll help in developing fundraising opportunities for you. And again, these are all strengths of the vendors, but they're also the benefits in regards to they're free. The services are free. Once you get a product, they also have where they have, it's called PlayPod, and it's a cutting-edge mobile device access. It helps you, and it's a free access as soon as the completion of the project or the products are purchased. Play and Park, they also have a play space design, 3D visual aid planning. I do construction projects, so I know how exciting the 3D dimensional visual aids are. Those can give you all kinds of help with on-site consulting, turnkey solutions. They also have certified installers if your state is able to do the installations part of it. We also have landscape structures. Landscape structures, they provide design and plan drawings as well and install inspection on site. They are Child Safety Act compliant, and they also have ADA compliant. They do some things that, products that deal specifically with ADA disabilities and children with disabilities, and that I thought was a very good strength. Some of those things, some people don't think about that type of stuff, but they're focused on doing the ADA as well. Superior International is on-site planning of indoor or outdoor sites. They do some water parks and such, so for them, they consider those the indoor parks, and they also have outdoor parks that they have worked on. So they are more than happy to help with either or situation that a state agency or cities and counties might, be utilizing. Design services, they have that, provide turnkey environmental sustainability and green recycling. And then, of course, they also have inspections after install. MRC is, they do on-site design, custom design, 3D rendering. They also have a local representation in each state that they had told me about. They have full-time office support staff 24/7 if necessary, and they do use recyclable products as well. They also are ADA and Child Safety Act certified. We have Play, the last one, All Play. They assist with planning and design of play structures, installation services, if the state, of course, allows for that. And they have site delivery, they have environmentally sustainable products, and they also are ADA and Child Safety Act compliant. We found that those were some pretty good strengths for them. Okay, we have next their contract awards. We wanted to develop something that could be, give you guys, a screenshot of people who, for each contract. For the master agreements, each PA would have its own, but for the master agreements, we awarded all of them on December 1st. That was one of my goals, was to have all of them be awarded at the same time. So all 8 were awarded, and that was our recommendation to NASPO Value Point. We had All Play, which is a regional. We have Landscape Structure, which is a national. MRC is a national. Northwest Playground is a regional. Play and Park Structures, is a national. Play World Systems is a national. Rubbery Cycle is a national. And Superior International is a national. So I wanted to give you all of the award information on those 8. It has the names of the contacts and phone numbers and the price agreement, master price agreement numbers as well. When we put out the solicitation, we wanted to get the shipping, as I had stated earlier, and one of the things that we wanted was regional shipping. We realized that we couldn't get, state by state, for example, pricing for each state, so we posted in our solicitation a regional map, as you can see on the presentation. And we asked the vendors to supply us with shipping costs for these regions, and they were very good about doing that. What I'd like to do at this time is to have Tim bring up a couple of the spreadsheets that have the shipping, so I can explain. There's two of them that have, they're a little bit different, but they still come to the outcome that we want. So MRC is the first one, and if Tim scrolls to the right, you can see where we put in for delivery to a region. And on this one, for example, MRC gave us certain regions. And region 1, they gave us 20%. Region 10, they gave us 29%, which that is off the shipping charges, what they may be. And then a little further on for some products, they gave us A, B, and C is 10%, D, E, F, G, 15%, 20%, and so on. So they gave us some pricing discounts off of shipping right up front. So those stay firm from this point forward throughout the life of the contract, which is kind of nice to have. And that's one example. The other example is Playworld, and they gave us a more in-depth of a spreadsheet with dollars of savings. So they didn't do the percentages off per se, but they gave us dollars, and they split that per region and broke it down even further. So they gave, for example, region A is, you know, 885 for that one product service, then 548. So on, then you go to region B, region C, and so on. They gave pricing for it, which was kind of nice to have, so you know what's what right up front. These are the prices that they will be. They won't, for the life of the contract, that's what they're going to be. So that it, you know, it can never go up. Hopefully, it would be nice if it could go down. but this is something that's really nice to have and unique, and we're kind of excited about it. The other thing that if Tim can scroll to the right a little bit more, I wanted to point out that we also wanted to get lead time, and the vendors gave us some lead times, whether it be 2, 3, 4 weeks. Some people, for example, Playworld here gave us days, so you can get an anticipated that you know you can at least know the lead time if you purchase that product of what it would be. We all know there's possibilities of back orders and stuff, but this gives us something to kind of hold them to and be accountable for. So that was kind of nice to have them, and that was to me another benefit to having these put in place and go out forth and do that first, you know, and get them to do that. So back to the regional map, that's the reason we put that in the solicitation. I think that was a great thing. We got pricing from them that stays firm, and we got actual, you know, delivery dates. So that was really, really, that was one of the questions the vendors thought they couldn't wrap around and get their hands on, but they did a great job. They stepped up and they did a great job on getting that for us. The master agreements and pricing. And then we want you to make sure that you always go out to NASPO Value Point for the most current and up-to-date information. This snapshot here gives you the contractor, gives you the distributors list, it gives you the product and pricing, but you can always go out to NASPO Value Point website. They will have that. I actually have, since we're re-recording this, I have had enough to update one of the distributor lists, and I sent it to Tim Hay, and he updated the NASPO Value Point website with that right away. So the most current information you could possibly ever get is the NASPO Value Point website. I am always making sure that Tim has the most up-to-date information as well when I get it. So to get started, all you need to do is pick a vendor. Oregon does best value analysis. I don't know if your state does or not, but that's something that we do. I obviously award the NASPO Value Point master agreements, but Oregon did PAs, and we use the best value analysis when we go out and do our purchasing. And so our Oregon PAs have that language in it. But for you, you can just go forth now that there's master agreements and get a participating addenda put in place. Is there questions? Thank you very much. I'll hand it over to Tim.
Thank you, Shirley. And yes, Shirley's contact information is right here for those of you viewing the webinar today, and you can always reach out to her in the state of Oregon, and she is your point of contact. I'm going to quickly talk about the NASPA Value Point Participating Addendum process. So as you may be aware, all 50 states and the District of Columbia have a memorandum of agreement that allows them to be eligible to use any one of our NASPA Value Point Cooperative Master Agreements. We have about 60 different contracting portfolios right now available through NASPA Value Point, and all of those agreements are available for use by the states, including this brand new one by the state of Oregon for parks and recreation equipment. Through the participating process, addendum process, states and entities may select the contractor or contractors they choose to use. They can include their own state administrative fees. They can include any required unique terms and conditions that's applicable to their state only. Identify options in their states for their political subdivisions, and also request any in-state specific reporting or any other requirements that they may need to execute that participating addendum. There's 3 options for participation. We always like option 1, where a state will sign a participating addenda for the entire state. Every legal entity in that state would be able to purchase through the one single participating addendum that the state executes. Sometimes, though, a state may not be able to purchase the supply or service through NASPA Value Point, but they don't have a problem if there are political subdivisions in their state purchase. So they would do then option number 2, which is they would sign a participating addendum for all the non-state entities or all the political subdivisions within that state. And then and that only means that one PA would be executed, but that would allow all the political subdivisions to purchase off of it. We like option 1 and option 2 the best. There may be reasons, though, at times where a state may choose not to execute a participating addendum. And whatever the reason may be, we'll respect it, but that doesn't mean that the political subdivisions are left out in the cold. And we recognize that these agreements for park and recreation equipment is probably going to benefit more of the cities and counties out there than maybe the states. And we certainly want to make sure they have an avenue to participate and purchase this equipment. So we still have that option for political subdivisions to execute their own participating addendum. However, before we can allow that to happen, we first want to check in with the state's chief procurement officer just to make sure that they don't have any objections. And the sole reason is we are a purchasing cooperative that is owned and operated by the states. And some states may have their own in-state cooperative program for parks and recreation equipment. We do not want to go in and compete against that in-state agreement. They may have an administration fee associated with that agreement, and that's how they fund their office. So that's why we want to first check in with that chief procurement officer to make sure that they don't have any objections, and provided that they don't, then the political subdivision can execute their own participating addendum. So once we establish that there are no restrictions, the step-by-step execution is pretty much the same. States and the contractors will negotiate directly with each other to execute that participating addendum. Both Shirley and myself are available to answer any questions. If you have any contract interpretation questions that you're unsure of, Shirley is your point of contact. If it's a NASPA Value Point process question, a PA process question, you can certainly direct those questions to me. And we're here to answer any questions, but we are not here to approve your negotiations or to negotiate on your behalf. That is strictly between the political subdivision or the state and the contractor. So you would negotiate directly with between the entity and the contractor, and you would sign that participating addendum. And once you have an executed participating addendum with signatures from both parties, then you would send that completed participating addenda to pa@naspaValuePoint.org, and you can just send in a PDF copy of that executed PA. So the steps for 1 and 2 are the same. It's just direct negotiations between the state and the contractor. Opportunity number 3 is where a state chooses not to execute a PA, but a political subdivision does. We first need to check in with that chief procurement officer to make sure that they don't object. and it's real simple to do. Either the contractor or preferably the participating entity, the city or county, all you have to do is just send us an email saying, hey, I want to purchase or execute my own participating addendum with this contractor. Can you help us out? What we'll do is we will take that, and the appropriate education and outreach person will contact the chief procurement officer in that state to make sure that they don't have any objections. And once we receive confirmation back from the chief procurement officer, we'll notify both the political subdivision as well as the contractor that what the response is, whether it's a yes or a no. And provided that there's no objections, then they can just negotiate directly and execute that PA. And then the process, again, is all the same. You would just send in that completed participating addendum to pa@nashvillevaluepoint.org. Now, we have this flowchart on all of the websites, or all of the web pages of the Nashville Value Point website, on all the portfolio pages. It's just a handy-dandy flowchart to show the steps. So we have a flow here for the participating states, and then we have a flow here for the other participating entities, and we have that check-in process right here with the CPO. And then once we get past that, then it's all the same steps again after that. So one thing we do like to first ask the states, and primarily the political subdivisions and the contractors, is to first check the Nashville Value Point website to make sure a participating addendum has or has not been executed. We really only want to have state-level executed participating addendums visible on our website. And if a state has already executed a participating addendum with the contractor, there is no reason for a political entity within that state or the contractor to execute a separate participating addendum. In fact, we don't even allow it. If a contracting vehicle needs to occur, then we ask you that you use something other than a participating addendum, and then you just keep that amongst yourselves and do not forward that to Nashville Value Point for posting. We will accept participating addendums from political subdivisions only when the state has chosen not to execute a participating addendum with that contractor. That's the only time we will accept a participating addendum. So please first double-check the Nashville Value Point website to make sure that the PA has not been executed. And if it has, then those political subdivisions can just purchase directly off of that PA. If it has not, then you'll need to do that check-in process with the CPO, and you can do that by just contacting Nashville Value Point, and we'll help you out on that. So things to remember: the sample PAs are located on the Nashville Value Point website, and I'll show you that here in just a minute. Executed participating addendums will be maintained on NashvilleValuePoint.org as well as in our repository. Participating states and entities will be identified on the map of the United States on Nashville Value Point on the Master Agreement webpage. The lead state and Nashville Value Point do not get involved in your negotiations. We only want you to submit completed and negotiated participating addendums with signatures from both parties to us. Sometimes we get copied on communication back and forth between a political entity and a contractor, and there still may be some negotiations going on back and forth, and the PA isn't completed yet. We don't want to mistakenly post a non-executed PA on our website, so please only submit those fully executed and negotiated participating addendums to us, and just submit it to us in a PDF format. So here's my contact information here. You can reach out to me if I can be of any assistance to you regarding the Nashville Value Point processes on executing participating addendums. Shirley can also contact or be your point of contact for any contract interpretation questions you may have. So let me show you real quickly where you can find information on our Nashville Value Point website. So if you go to NashvilleValuePoint.org and just do a search for park, the portfolio page will come up, and this page has all of the high-level information regarding to the portfolio. It has the original RFP, all the addenda that was released, the award recommendation, the PA process flowchart I was just talking about, and then also the PowerPoint slide for today's kickoff webinar, and we'll eventually have the video of today's presentation posted here as well. If you click on the Contractors tab, you can either click on it here or here, this will pull up the 8 contractors that we have on a contract. You can click on any one of their logos, and that'll take you right to their contractor page. And on this page, it has the master agreement, the pricing information, the delivery regions map that Shirley was talking about, and also a list of all the representatives, because there are a lot of representatives for these contractors. So we've got them broken out on a separate page for you, so you can find out the representative located in your state, as well as any participating addendum that have been executed under this contractor, and then also the point of contact information. It's all over here for the contractor on the very right-hand side. And then it has your inception and current expiration date, the master agreement number right here, and then that model participating addendum is located right here. We ask that everybody start with the model participating addendum in your negotiations. We understand that some states may have some old PA templates in their files, and they want to start there. We actually ask that you throw all those old templates away and start with the new model participating addendum, because they've all been reformatted recently and have all the latest information. And this will download into a Word document for you to use. And so we ask that you start there and execute those participating addendums, and then send it into National Value Point once everything's executed and awarded. So with that, since we are recording today's webinar outside of a live audience, this is a re-record. We don't have the opportunity to address any questions that people may have, but as both Shirley and I have indicated to you before, feel free to reach out to any one of us, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have, or we will be able to direct you into the right direction. So with that, I'd like to thank you for taking time today to view today's presentation for this new portfolio for National Value Point for Parks and Recreation Equipment. We think this is going to be one of the next big portfolios that we put together. We've had a lot of interest in this category, and we've already had some PAs executed already, and we know that there's a lot more in the works. So with that, I'd like to thank you again for taking the time out today to view this presentation, and just want to wish you all a great day.